Okay, my friends, this is a stunner. Things we've never seen before. New findings unveil true nature of Wild 2 comet. Well, what is the true nature of Wild 2 comet? And what is the true nature of Comet 67P? Or the asteroids Bennu and Psyche? Or the other one is called Maru Maru. What is the true nature of all these objects floating around in space? What is this all about? Okay, be prepared. What do we know about what's in space? Well, we see asteroids and we see comets, and then we have meteorites that get right here on Earth, and that's an iron meteorite. Let's take a look at that. That's iron. Somebody cut that. And you don't get iron just happens automatically on Earth. It just doesn't happen. You have to smelt hematite, which is red. Well, it's basically red rock like this. And you have to get that to over 3,000 degrees, and then all the cheap stuff burns off, and you end up with the metal, which is iron. Iron ore is red, basically. Now, so this came through space. Nobody's going to disagree with that. It's cut, and I believe they etched it with a little acid. Here's my point. You see these two spots here? You see that black one? What's that doing there? And that one there is the killer. What is a red, bloody artery doing in an iron meteorite? Well, the reason it's in an iron meteorite is because that was, I believe, a liver. Now, they also come as lungs, which this is a gigantic lung that's smelted coming through space. Over 3,000 degrees has to do to become iron. Now, that was a lung, and you see those are all the alveoli, and you see right down here? I'm going to home in real close down here. You see that red spot right above the ring? You see that? That, my friends, is blood. It still has blood in this. Now, I have iron meteorites here, and I have another meteorite that have blood in them, and we'll take a look at that. I have all kinds of stuff. This was a lung. This is a terrestrial lung, and it's got, you see the red? It's red just like that. But this one here washed all out. So mostly you have the fabric left. That one was packed solid with blood. It had to be saturated with blood, just a big, huge bag full of blood. And then it came through and boiled off, and all the cheap, this stuff really boiled off, and it left the blood as a ball of metal and landed here on Earth. This is very unusual. It had to come in just a certain way through the ionosphere without really interacting deeply with the ionosphere where it explodes. So it had to come in somehow at a certain speed into the ionosphere with the roll of the Earth, something like that, to cook it up like that but not destroy it. I've been trying to figure out how that could have happened. That's the only way I can think. It had to be a gentle entry and long duration of time in the ionosphere, which is over 3,000 degrees. It's the only way it could have happened. Now, this right here, my friends, is a little tiny iron meteorite. And the only way they get get turned into iron is over 3,000 degrees. So this came through space and smelted. And it is a lung. It's a tiny lung. And I can find the tiny little spur lock on the bottom that latches that lung in, wherever it is. I have to look at it in a microscope, and I do have the microscope running. And I did a catalase test on this, and it has catalase in it, which bubbled all up. I mean, it bubbled like crazy. Now, I have another one here, which is an iron, not an iron, this is a stony meteorite. I'm going to show you this in great detail. And this has blood right here. This exploded from blood coming through space. Same thing coming. I can't find anything that wasn't biological. Even like this, look at this. Prepare yourself, my friends. This is asteroid Bennu. And they landed on here and pulled off a sample of this. I know exactly what this is, and I'm going to show you later what they're going to find when they examine this blood. I mean, when they examine the material they took out of there. Blood. Now, that is a heart. And they landed right there, right somewhere down in here. And where do you see this? This is an absolute mind shatter. This is psyche, same thing. It's another heart. This one, though, got smelted somehow. That must have got in some kind of condition where it was over 3,000 degrees, and it cooked off all the stuff. And because they're saying, oh, we can mine this thing and get billions of dollars. Well, all it is another heart. That's a heart, that's a heart, and guess what? So is that. And out of Bennu, you can see tubes. They have tubes running all out of the heart. And in Bennu, you can see them. That's not a crater. Right there's a tube coming out. And there's another one down the bottom. You see it? That's a tube. And you see the difference in the red and it would be red and black. And you see the black over here and so forth. What do you see when they landed on here? Here's what they saw. And I believe this is a very accurate colorized picture. Everybody that knows the mud fossils knows they're red and black. Right? Red and black is the colors of the blood. We've seen it 100 zillion times. I've showed it. Now, they landed right over there and just took some of that blood off them and brought it back. Now, I can tell you exactly what's in that sample that they have. And I'll show it in extreme detail. So we're going to be talking about things that nobody's ever considered before, but they seem to be quite valid. I have the evidence. And this right here, I'm going to tell you right now, that could be tested. I'm going to do a catalase test on this and show you if it fuzzes up, that means the enzyme is still there. Now, enzyme is a chemical, but it can be destroyed. Enzymes can be destroyed. And I didn't think they'd make it through space, but boy, they seem to. They seem to be, well, at least catalase. There's a lot of different enzymes. I mean, there's thousands of them. And that's what makes and breaks the chemistry in your body. They build and they destroy, both ways. But they're a catalyst. Happens instantaneously. Click, chemistry. Click, boom, all kinds of things happen. So what we're going to be looking at is as much detail as we can tell biologically. Okay, I see this spot is going to be good. I'm almost certain. When you see channels going deep inside, and this was an area here that there was blood, I can see there's no question, and that's an artery. Now, I am going to put a little catalase on there. That I'll be just absolutely shocked if we don't get a reaction. Keep your eye on it. Oh, it's sunk right in there. So we'll get reactions from this stuff. I can tell you right now. It's sinking right in quick. I'm gonna have to put a ton of it on there. Keep watching for the bubbles to come out of these channels. See them bubbling now? That's catalase. And that's from this giant, I believe it's a human fingertip. It's identical to a human fingertip. I can put more in there and it'll do it. I can see it's got the catalase. They don't bubble like that for nothing. Keep an eye on it. See it bubbling over here, bubbling over here. It's bubbling all over where there's blood somewhere down in there. You see it bubble? It's not like if a really good one. I have another one here. Oh, as a matter of fact, I'll be showing it from the terrestrial fingertip that was just like this other fingertip but did not come through space. And that one there, I think, foams up really good. But look, see, it's now starting to come out. Boom. I'm going to put a little more in there, and it may come out really good again, because it takes a while. It takes a while to work its way in, especially when this thing was cooked up the way it had to be cooked up. Keep your eye on this. Look at this over here. There's something going on here, too. me see if I can get a little closer. You see it? It's not great. Let me put it that way. It's not great at all. When you see the other one, the terrestrial one, you'll see the difference. All right, this is the lung. This is the one that came through space. It's an iron lung. You put a magnet on there, it sticks. It's iron. It had to get over 3,000 degrees. It came through space. Now, this is the little latch that holds this lung into whatever body it was in out in space. I'm telling you, this is just the strangest stuff you've ever heard of, but it's true. And that is the lock. I call this the spur lock. It's on every single organ, basically, in your body. And latches, even your, I think, muscle masses and so forth. It's the little tags that tag you in to everywhere around. And I believe if you looked around at the acupuncture points, I think it's going to be right in these areas. All right, I'm going to freehand this. I'm at the end of the little iron lung. This is the tip of the spur lock. It goes back this way. You see these two spots right there? That's where the interstitial fluid runs into the next one. Now I'm going to go back up this. You see how this triangle is, almost looks like a face, doesn't it? Now it comes back here, and that is the bump that is on the bottom of this lung. Because this is a lung. This is the one that came through space. The little iron lung. And again, that's the spur lock running straight down, straight down, straight down, straight down, straight down to the tip. To that little tip at the very end, you see it? I'm a little wobbly because it's hard to do this. Now, and again, it's a lung. Look at all the red. There's just red blood everywhere. But these are the two spots that bring the fluid from one to the next, because these are locks that lock in an organ to another organ or into some part of the body. All right, check this out. This is really freaky. All right, this little spot right there, it attaches back up this way to the lung itself. This whole area down here was where that lock attached, and it attached with these white fibers, I'm pretty sure. Now I'm going to back up out of there and see, we'll get a longer look at this. Alright, now I'm going to have to jiggle around here. Let me play around with the lights. This takes a little while. All I could think of is that latch, which I called a spur lock, went with the other piece that it was attached to. All right, because that's what they do. They attach one organ to another organ, that type of thing. And this is way up here, and that drops way down here. And that snapped right off and left with whatever it was attached to, and left that little tiny piece of the latch left. You see, this is the, I'll show you another perspective of it, but this is the lung itself. And this is the very tip of the lung, and that's where that latch attached. They all have that, it has a little triangle looking thing. And it left this tiny, tiny little piece that was attached. And apparently it latches into, I don't know, there's some fibers, I don't know what it does. But let's take a look at it from right up at a distance. Hold on. Hold on a second. Here it is right here. Let me turn the major lights on and we will look at it. Hold on. All right, let's take a look at this. All right, now. This is that latch right there. It's just broken right off, that little clip on the end. And they all have that. That's where that little, I call it a spur lock, would be. And it just broke off and left with the other piece. All right, this is the spurlock. That's what I named it. And it's a separate piece. It's different than the rest. It's not the fascia. It's the interface between a chunk of meat like this, which is a stone, and it's got its little blood vessels that connect it up into the next piece. Now this is an injury. It's ripped there, but this is a lung. I had DNA tested. It's human, and that's where that latches the spurlock on this one. It's hard to see because it's in such perfect condition, but when they really get hard, and I got one here. Hold on. Oh, I got so many of them around here. Oh, here it is right here. This is from, I don't know what it's from, but it's a creature that had a lung, and that's the lock right there. There's a little spur lock right there. Same as that. See? It's not the same as the fascia here. So it's clearly something new. You see how it's completely different. And every lung has one, and I think every different organ has them attached to them, and they attach, and then they have that little like right there, that thing right in the middle. You see it? Same thing. It's basically identical. Now, but this is a lung. I don't know what that was, and this is a piece of meat. All right, so rocks are a lot different than people thought. Okay, this is a fingertip. Fingertips have two blood vessels here, from the artery, and one at the tip. So there's three here, and then they have the vein and two on the sides. The vein ones clamp off, the other ones don't. This is a fingertip that is a mud fossil. It has been completely crushed, but at one point it actually had a fingernail here. And that little circle is a spot where the tendons invest. If you know how to look at this, you can tell. Here is where the blood supply was. Artery, artery, artery. Those three. All right? And the vein side are these. Clamped off, and then at the very end, clamped off. All right? Those are the three there. So what happens is the blood comes down from the artery, and it services the fingers. You need a lot of blood in your fingers. And it comes down, well, you can see they're saturated. It comes down here in the artery, and then through the blood vessels, it works its way over and then back up. And the same thing on your toes. Fingers and toes have the same blood vessel structure in it. Now, again, this was from some giant creature. Now, well, it's a human. I'm pretty sure. It's a very, as far as I'm concerned, that's from a human. It could be DNA tested. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to do a catalase test on this, and you're going to see it foam all up. Now, look at this hook. What happens is your tendons hook in here. This, my friends, is also a fingertip. All right? And here's where the vein was on this one. You see that circle right there? And that one right there? Those two are where it clamped off because they're veins. The same thing on the end. Now, what happened over here? Look at it, blew right out. Why is that? The other one just leaked out. You see, these are the exact same fingertips. You see the hook right there? You see this hook right here? No difference whatsoever. The vein here, vein here, vein here. Right, it's hard to see it. You got to get it in the right light, but you can see it right there. There's that vein, and there's one here, and there's one at the end. This one here, though, came through space. The reason it's all blacked off here is because as it came through space, it cooked up. It got so hot that this red blood that was still bloody inside here and moist exploded. Just like it would if you heated something up in a can, and it heated it up and all the moisture inside evaporated, it would blow out. And that's the only reason on the red side it did. The black side, no. The black side just kept sealed off, which is the vein side. Otherwise, this is just cooked. And I've looked at this very carefully in a microscope. This right here is the anchor that anchors your tendons in to your fingers so that you can move your fingers around like this. And that little neck right there is a strap that came up over here, back, and then right down from the center point, which I showed you. There's a central point in here where they attach, which is basically here. You can't see it in this one, but this one here, it's burnt off and cooked up all of those little straps, and they just bubbled off. This exploded because there was still blood in here. The astronauts say space smells like steak. Comet 67P has a huge artery opening in it that shoots off grill gases, like just exactly like from a steak cooking on a gas grill, and shoots it out of there into space. Comet 67P. That's what the comet comas are. They're not just dust blowing off. They are discharges of meat smoking, basically. I'm just telling you, that's what it is. You can take it any way you want. But I have the giants. I have mine are DNA tested, and some of them CAT scanned, and the whole 9 yards. And this came through space. If anybody can tell me that's not a stony meteorite, I want them to tell me. And you see that circle right there? You see that circle here? And there was another one over here. Those are where your tendons lock in. Those are where your tendons lock in. This one exploded because it was wet. Look up the Great Kentucky Meat Shower. Red meat fell all over this woman's farm. Just meat, chunks of meat fell out of the sky. And they actually ate some of it. The guy said it tasted like elk. All right, we're going to do the catalase test on this. That's blood, and then there'll be a membrane right around that blood vessel. And we're going to see the catalase test when I put some catalase on there. All right, hold on. All right, what I'm going to do is swab a little catalase, hydrogen peroxide. It has an extra oxygen, and the membranes are programmed to attack extra oxygen with an enzyme called catalase. And they will foam up right on that borderline, very foamy. The blood usually foams up. Well, the blood foams up a lot too, but other areas don't. They'll foam for a second or two and then they give up. But the membranes, they'll just foam forever. So get ready. Here we're going to watch it right now. Here goes. All right, I'm going to put some catalase all around that edges. All right, now keep your eye out. You see, here it is. This is the membrane I just pointed out. A little more catalase, and because it eats it up, the catalase eats up the extra oxygen quickly. You see all that? Anywhere you see the bubbles, it's eaten into, there's catalase present. You don't see the bubbles unless you get catalase. That's why over on the left side there, you don't see any bubbles. You see them really heavy in foaming right at the membrane. That's what the membrane's job is. And it does it using catalase to kill things trying to enter. All right, you just saw my fingertip. I claim this is more than likely a human fingertip. And I can tell you what, I'm almost certain DNA could be tested from this. And this, I say, and I don't think anybody can disagree, came through as a stony meteorite, and that's what seared the surfaces and exploded the moist red blood, which is exactly like Comet 67P, has moist red blood boiling out. That's boiling out from a gigantic artery. These are boiling out from tiny little blood vessels that serviced the tissues that ran up this way. And this was, it appears to be a hip socket, and I can show you because other shots of it. Now this goes back to 2015. they went right here, right up to Comet 67P, and they actually landed on it and took a sample of it, and it was biological. You see that? This appears to be a hip socket, and that's the joint area, and I'll show you that in a second. Tendons run up and all over the place, and then there's this fracture, and it fractured right off of the hip. That's what I'm claiming. So there's a couple of different types of fractures. There's the interlocutaric region fracture, which is the one that is Comet 67P, and a ball, and then here. Now, there's tendons and all that stuff running around here. They're just showing the actual bone here. You see this? Remember this very carefully. This is the head of the bone pulled out of the socket. You see these little tendons? You're going to see the exact same ones up on 67P. See these right there? These are tendons. You see these little straps? Any doctor will know what that is. You see these tiny little zip, 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 zip. That's what a tendon is made out of. There's a zillion little fibers, and then they go into a bundle. That's what a tendon is. And it appears to have ripped out of the bone at this point, and the other side goes down this way. This is another ball of tendons. It could be muscle, I'm not sure, these little pinchy bundles. And this round thing went off to another direction because you're secured in a couple of different ways so you can twist and come back and so forth. And there's the ball. And here's where they landed, right down here somewhere. And this thing's gigantic. It's not just a tiny little object. And they took a sample of it, and it was, I had the chemical makeup of it. It's exactly like the body of a creature. It's ferrous oxides, heavy in ferrous oxides, which is blood. And I showed you the stuff boiling out of there, the blood. All right, if you know anything about comets, they gas off. They always used to think it was just dust as it came in closer to the sun. No, it's as it comes closer to the sun, the rays of the sun are strong enough to actually cook blood, which is still moist in here, because it's shooting out of here through the artery, and I'll show you that artery in a second. That sucker is gigantic. And these are all the little tiny blood vessels that service. And see how they're going off in different directions? That's because that's where the blood vessel is pointing. That's exactly what happens. And this, again, this goes back a ways. All right, you see that? 40 meters is 2.61 inches. All right, let's see how wide this whole thing is. Well, we're not going to get there. All right, this is 6 inches. And then from there over, there's going to be another, figure 4 inches, so 10 inches. All right, and this, I said, was 2.6, and this is 10, so that's 4 times bigger than 40 meters. That means this is 500 feet across, approximately. 500 foot wide artery was shooting all that juice out into space. Out of all of these, what they call Dragon Balls, these are the little things that send the blood into your body to service the tissues. The artery doesn't just lay there for no reason. The artery brings the blood, which distributes everywhere. Every single cell in your body has to be supplied with blood continuously. I mean, continuously. Think of the amount of vascularization you have here. And when this is cooked and the sun comes just right, and that thing is no puppy. This is Raleigh, North Carolina, and that's 67P. That's serious. All right, you see this? This is what the chemical makeup, some of it, the chemistry of 67P is. But you see the iron, these are all different oxidation states of iron. And then you got sodium, silicon, hydrogen, carbon, hydrocarbons. Carbon, look at the side of carbon. This is all biology. And they said it appears to be biological. And then they just dropped it and went off to do what I don't know what. All right, I hate to be negative all the time, but as far as I'm concerned, this is nothing more than just looking for money to walk around in circles and not pay attention to what's obvious. I'm showing what's obvious. I'm not showing anything that's it's not obvious. I mean, there's chemistry, there's anatomy, there's everything. And now Bennu, they just picked up a sample. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. I'll show you what Bennu is, and I'll show you what psyche is, and I can tell you precisely, exactly what the chemistry will be of the items that they brought back. And they just opened it up. All right, here's exactly what they are going to have in the analysis of asteroid Bennu. This is from Oxford Academy. This is the metallic profile of whole blood and plasma, and they did an outstanding job. It comes down, and there's 26 elements that they look for. All right, this is a panel of 26 elements in whole blood and plasma. And here's all the different things, and here's the ratios of what they found. You see this? Lithium, beryllium, vanadium, all these different things, and what it was, and how dense it was, and so forth. I'm going to tell you right now, there is no reason that what they just brought back from Bennu should not fit this exact same profile, exactly, because it is blood. And this one here is just the plasma. Before you had whole blood, now you got plasma. And they're going to go into serum, I think, somewhere down here. Yeah, then there's the serum. It's just different. But if these guys are supposed to be so sophisticated with their tests and everything, this is pretty serious ability to compare something. I want it to compare it. If they're going to be spending years and years and years, they're talking about taking 10 years to analyze this stuff. It took 19 years to even start to look at the last samples they took. All right, this is where they went, out to Bennu, and they picked up a bunch of stuff from Bennu, a little capsule of stuff. And they also got a bunch of these scraps. I want them to just test the scraps. I don't care about them testing the other stuff. And this will be virtually identical to what I said before was going to be all of the metals that are in the blood, because it came right out of the heart. It has to be. Right, and then you can let them do the contents, the other contents, to see if they can find little microbes in there, which probably they're gonna. But I can tell you what, that came right off a heart, and I showed you what Bennu and Psyche look like. They're both hearts. That's blood. Look at this. This is humorous and tragic at the same time. Things we've never seen before. Now listen to this. This is Wild 2 comet. So they went out there and they picked up a sample of it and they brought it back. All right, that was 19 years ago. All right, so they're studying it. Boy, we really been studying it for 19 years. After nearly 2 decades, 19 years, it may seem like scientists have had plenty of time to analyze the minuscule amount of material returned by the Stardust mission, less than 1 milligram. Picture a grain of sand. It'd be taking 19 years to study it. However, this material is distributed over thousands of tiny particles on a collector the size of a pizza. That would make it easier. Nearly every Wild 2 particle is unique and has a different story to tell. It's just dust. It's time-consuming process to extract and analyze these grains. The science payoff is enormous. Well, I don't think so. Not for the money spent, my friends. 19 years to study a grain of sand, that doesn't work for me. Okay, my friends, this is kind of sad, to be honest with you. This is Secretary Miguel Cardona, Secretary of Education. He lives literally in the next town over from me in Connecticut. And he's the Secretary of Education. Now, I posted on his page here on Facebook, please look at Mudfossil research information. I have things that change a lot of education I want them looked at. I'm a taxpayer, I'm a citizen, I'm all those things, I'm a veteran. I should be heard, and nobody ever responds. I get this, you've earned a top badge. Well, how about talking? How about looking at what I'm presenting? Because between the mud fossils and the geology and our history, that's completely changed, 100%. The things that are in space, 100% changed. Dipole electron flood theory changes everything we know about physics, about chemistry, everything. 100% change. And we can see light. We can see light accelerate, not supposed to happen. We've created fission and fusion. We can see the actual particles of light, and the green and the red and the blue, they're all the same particle. There's a green, same particle, only it's much faster, much more impactful. And then we actually split those particles. Whoops, wait a minute, hold on. These are the well, you just saw what they have here. There's a black and a white attached together, and they're just fused together. We made them fission and come back together, and here it is right here. And we created electron showers, which are supposed to be staggering amounts of electricity, and I believe they are. I can't get anybody to talk to me. I've tried to contact my senators. I've tried to contact everybody in government. I've tried to contact all Fermi and Lawrence Livermore. I actually went and took a course at University of Geneva, and I showed them all this stuff, and they weren't denying any of it. They said, "Wow." Basically, that's what they ended up saying. "Wow, we'll follow you on Facebook." And I said, "Well, can we discuss this?" They said, "No, we'll keep an eye on. We'll follow you." And that's what happened. That was about 8 years ago. And we've spent probably hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars chasing after what was right here. And this, my friends, could be free energy. And I got a top badge, all right, from the Secretary of Education. I'd like to get a discussion. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm trying to get something for what we should be able to look at this. If this is not looked at, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. Because this right here, this is the white energy that you use to make electricity. This is completely energy, 100% energy. Has no weight whatsoever. I've shown this over and over and over. So I would like you guys to go up on Secretary Cardona's page here. All right, Miguel Cardona, Secretary of Education, and ask him to take a look at Mudfossil University's information on every topic, 100%. That's the problem. There is no education anymore. It's indoctrination. You know, I don't know what he does, to be perfectly honest with you, but it's certainly not improving the education of the students, of getting the students to be better intelligently. That's certainly not happening. So if we can all get together and push this thing, maybe we can get out of this quagmire we're in, which is it's a stagnation of the mind. It's called menticide. You're just indoctrinated. You're brainwashed into saying, I have to say what my teacher said, or I'm an idiot, and I'll get failed, and I won't be able to get a good job. And peer review is nothing more than basically racketeering, where they say, if you don't agree with what we tell you to say, we're not going to let you say it. I'm not allowed to publish or do anything. I'm pretty much completely blocked in every realm, because I come with things that are not accepted. And that is academic fraud. When you present evidence that it will not be looked at because it's just something they don't want, that's considered academic fraud. Suppression of unwanted evidence. All right, and then there is, of course, plagiarism, just stealing people's work. All that stuff has been done to me by academia. So I think the Secretary of Education should step in on this and at least discuss it with me and tell me why I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe everything's fine, but I don't think so. I have too much evidence to acquiesce to this and just say, oh yeah, I'm stupid. All right, so Secretary Miguel Cardona, I would certainly like to speak to you, sir, and I'm certainly hoping that my people that follow me and understand that we have a really serious situation with education, will contact you. And as our representative in government, I would expect some kind of response. All right, thank you, sir. All right, I love you all. Bye.